Hi, I'm Paul Hohen, and you're watching a podcast where nostalgia comes alive. It's Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. Roll it.
Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. Join Jake and his friends on a journey through pop culture of the past, where they interview professionals in the worlds of acting, directing, writing, puppeteering, and so much more. Who will they be chatting with today? Find out in this Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, the podcast where nostalgia comes alive. Happy with us. Thank you all, folks, for joining as always. As you should know at this point, already from many times at this point, I'm your host, Jake Duffenbaugh. Today, as always, our co-host, Chris Bixby. How's it going, my friend?
Doing good. Hello, everybody watching and listening. How are you doing today, Jake?
Yes, I'm doing great as always, Chris. Thank you for asking. And so fun. We got to talk to two wonderful people for this wonderful episode. One returning guest, one we talked to for the very first time, his first appearance on this show, and it's great to have both of them on together to talk about such a lot of things that they got to do in a certain franchise brand, and it's just many things that these two wonderful individuals got to do over the years, and it's wonderful. But I don't waste any more time. Chris, what do you have for today?
Yes. So first off, for the returning guest, we have Kimberly Luce, and for the new guest for the first time, Michael Healy. We talked to the both of them about their many contributions to Disney Channel for so many years, with Kimberly being in the scheduling and planning department, deciding when things would air and what would air at a certain time, and Michael for being the senior vice president of Disney Channel Original Movies, which is what our main discussion for this interview covered. We talked a lot about our personal favorite DCOMs and kind of what went into some of them, and also the ones uh, having either celebrated or are celebrating their 20th or 25th anniversaries this year. Some of them, I mean, there's so many, like Luck of the
Yeah,
Irish and
it's
High School
amazing.
Musical, and talk about the Cheetah
Yeah.
Girls movies and Smart House and Zenon, just whole bunch of
Just
wonderful
made a lot of
interviews.
films they got to do over the years, and and of course a lot of films that came out in 2006 that Chris just mentioned, and it's just how those decom sticks out to this day that both me and Chris still talks about today. So it's wonderful that we got to talk to them about those films as well.
Yes, we talked also a lot about having the many writers, directors, and producers who have come on board for Disney Channel, who they had worked with on a bunch of them, and kind of that camaraderie of getting to work with, familiar faces for multiple different projects. Um, but yeah, without further ado, I won't waste any more time. Let's get
Yeah.
to it. Enjoy our chat with Michael Healy and Kimberly Luce.
Yeah. See you then. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, the podcast where nostalgia comes alive.
Yes, today we're pleased to have with us two guests. One is a returning guest, Kimberly Luce, and the other, joining us for the first time, is Michael Healy. How are you two doing today?
Very well, thank you. Nice to
Great,
meet you.
thanks.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yes.
Great to see you again, Kimberly, and good to meet you, Michael. Have you both here together talk about this wonderful career that you guys have. So, yes, looking forward to this.
Nostalgic for that career, yes.
Yes. Yes,
Exactly.
indeed. So to start this off, could you both just kind of like introduce yourselves a little bit and kind of share, kind of what your roles were within Disney Channel?
Sure. You want to start, Kimberly?
Sure. They've had me on before, but yes, I worked for Disney Channel for about 15 years, primarily doing scheduling and planning. So basically, once Michael's team was done making the movies, it was my department's job to determine like when they were going to air and how they were going to air after we premiered them, and basically kind of judge the success of those based on kind of performance and figure out how we were going to kind of use them long term.
And she was great at it, by the way. And when she left, we didn't do nearly as well. I remember after Kimberly left, they decided to put our movies up against the opening of the Olympics, which they said, well, we looked at the numbers and not a lot of kids watched the opening of the Olympics. And we said, but it's eyeballs. They take them away because their parents are watching them. So Kimberly was always well aware of the whole TV landscape, I think, when she was at it, and I'll always be grateful to her for that.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, I had at some point I left to go run Disney Channel Spain and Portugal for a few years.
Yeah.
And when I came back, then I left the company. So yeah, so it was a little bit there. I left kind of right around, I think Cowbells was March. So if there was a movie after Cowbells, I may not have been in the US for that. But then I got to relaunch High School Musical in Spain again.
Well,
So I had to
Okay.
do that one twice.
Nice.
Twice. Huh?
Wonderful.
Well, I was head of original movies for 16 years. I was brought in to help them start the Disney Channel original movie franchise. They had made movies before at Disney Channel, but most of them were, many of them were sort of good for you kind of potential award winners. And they said they wanted me to make programmers and comedies, thrillers, things like that, things with kids in the lead. And so that was my charge from Gary Marsh and Rich Ross. And I did that for 16 years with different varying degrees of success.
Michael, which was the first one you did?
The first one I did was Brink, or oh, You Lucky Dog, rather. And
Right,
that was
yes.
not a barn burner, but that was with Kurt, what's his name?
Kirk Cameron, yeah.
Cameron,
Cameron.
yeah, and playing a dog, and I thought it was sheer box office, but it wasn't in terms of what the franchise became.
Yeah, I was looking like into that movie because I had only seen it very, very few times because I mean by the time that I was like watching Disney Channel, I think that movie I don't even think that movie was airing for a while, and then Disney Channel started showing it again, but it was like at like 2 or 3 in the morning. Right? It
Yes.
wasn't in like within their like usual schedule.
Well, that was on purpose. That was because it's great. It goes great with drugs, I'd say.
Maybe it's probably helpful to just understand a little bit of the history of what was going on at that time. So Disney Channel in that period was converting from a pay cable
Right.
channel,
Mhm.
which interestingly enough, I feel like we're kind of back in that world again, but essentially there was this idea of like, well, the parents pay for the channel. So there were
Yeah.
movies made for kind of the parents and very much a deep, deep investment in preschool. But during that period, Nickelodeon had come to dominate the kids space.
Yep.
So Michael and I came aboard both essentially during the transition where they said, we are going to more aggressively start competing against Nickelodeon and stay within our brand thing, but kind of get out of this idea. And so there were around, I feel like You Lucky Dog was like almost like the transition crossover
Right.
movie. Almost
It was.
the one right before it had been Under Wraps, which I
Yep.
love, by the way, the very first
It's a
Under
good
Wraps.
one. That's a great one.
But before that it had been Northern Lights, and if you really look at kind of the difference between those, you can see that Northern Lights had all of that old stuff we were still calling Big Star and Diane Keaton,
Right.
right? Really mature story.
Right.
And then we did the Halloween movie. Everyone loved it, and Michael was just kind of coming aboard at that time, so it takes a while to kind of build up. And I feel
Right.
like You Lucky Dog was right in where they were like, is it more kids? Is it more Under Wraps? Or is
Right.
it more the older style of movies? And how do you get to the younger style of movies? And Disney had a franchise called the Shaggy Dog for many years. So I do
Yes,
think that
yep.
there was a little feeling of like, at the time of like, okay, kind of leaning in on that person changes into a dog history.
Yeah.
And I like You Lucky Dog. I actually think it's a cute movie, but it really was the last of this movie is built around an adult.
Right. Exactly. And the thing is, in those days, talk about Nickelodeon, they did a lot of testing, of course, to see how Nickelodeon was perceived versus versus Disney Channel in terms of kids, tweens and young teens. And they asked
Right.
one of the questions they asked in the interviews was what food describes Nickelodeon and what word describes Disney Channel. And the word for Nickelodeon was pizza, and for Disney Channel it was broccoli. In other words, they knew that Disney Channel was good for you programming, but it wasn't fun and it wasn't tasty. So what we had to do is we had to extend the Disney brand to these kids who, in those days, the Disney brand was pretty much a favorite of old people and little bitty kids, and teenagers and tweens didn't really. It wasn't on their radar at all. So I thought that our mandate was to mean something to the schoolyard, and that's what we did by casting kids of that age in the leads, letting kids actually carry the movies, and making the movies fun rather than preachy.
Right.
So does that
very successful at it.
Yeah.
Very
Well,
successful.
we tried. But we wanted to make it fun, and the more fun it was for them, the more fun it was for me too. So
Yeah, so such a lot of fun movies. In fact, well, going a little bit into You Lucky Dog, the interesting thing about that movie was that there were no kids really. Like it was all, adults in
yeah,
that movie.
childish adults, which is
Yes.
sort of not what the brand became either.
Right way to say it. Yeah.
Right.
But there were some very good, comedic actors in it, but there were no kids. No, I think the youngest one
Yeah.
in the movie was the dog. So
Right.
anyway,
Like I said, I feel like it was a solid movie. It just, around that same time, if you kind of think of what the series were, right? We were still kind of in that so weird,
yep,
Yeah.
kind of era. God, I'm trying to think of like Going Well with Jeff Corwin was probably going on around
Right.
that time.
Right.
Omba Macomba was on at that time.
Mhm.
Like it's still, even the series hadn't yet found its footing exactly yet.
No, exactly. So I agree with Kimberly that I think the first real Disney Channel movie was one I had nothing to do with, but was Under Wraps. I mean, that was kids in the lead. It was high concept. It was funny. It was fun. It was eminently successful, but it was a one of a kind at that time. So what we had to do is we had to take that one of a kind success and try and replicate it with the whole franchise of movies. And that's what Brink became. Brink was another one, early one that did extremely well. That was
Oh
a
yeah,
sports movie.
Brink was awesome. That was one of my favorites. And that was kind of like their first kind
Mm-hmm.
of venture into extreme sports.
Yep, and
Right.
it was it had a lot of boy appeal, which we were kind of challenged by in later movies. But yeah, it was a great fun movie, and it had the kind of music that said it was a kids movie. It had, I can't remember the name of the group, but it was Phil Marshall who did the orchestration for it.
Oh
But
yeah,
it
he did a
had
lot of wonderful music for DCOMs.
Crystal Method, I think,
Oh
was the
yeah.
name of the group that he was imitating too. So
Huh.
we wanted it to say, "This is for you." That's what the whole point of the Disney Channel original movie was to say, "We're not making this for ourselves. We're making this for you, young person."
Right.
Right.
Little nostalgic trivia is that again, a lot of kind of that early, like with the You Lucky Dog and coming off Shaggy Dog, not a lot of people know this, but Brink is actually a modern updated remake of a movie Disney had done called Hans Brinker and the Silver Skates.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, so it's technically a remake, which was an early push on some of the movies that Michael was kind of, corporate was kind of like can you do something with existing properties, before they kind of realized. And so I think both You Lucky Dog and Brink kind of came out of that same idea of like, oh, what about the library? Because at that same time, I'd have to look at the exact dates of the movies, but a lot of people remember the magical world of Disney movies that were being made at that time.
Yeah.
And a lot of those were remakes, like The Love Bug was remade in that period. And that was like the Herbie movies. And there were a couple others in that genre being made for ABC's Sunday night movie franchise that were like, hey, what can you pull out of our library?
Kimberly, in our case, we couldn't get access to the library because we couldn't afford it. What was going around in those days was the idea that we would take classics, like get out our library card and take Hans Brinker and the Silver Skate and use that as the model for a contemporary movie. I mean, it never really happened, but that was the operating fallacy in those days, that so that they could keep their Disney could keep its based on the classics kind of history and yet be contemporary. We threw that idea out pretty quickly. I mean, I never read Hans Brinker and the Silver Skates, and I doubt that any of our kids did either.
But it was massive. Brink was really the first, like You Lucky Dog. Under Wraps was successful about a Halloween movie, right? So that had a very narrow shelf life of how we used it. Don't get me wrong, we used it for the next kabillion years, but it was kind of Halloween and done. And I think Disney corporate structure at that time understood that. They didn't. I think Brink was what taught them that we could make a movie at a certain price point and then use the heck out of it. Like you have to understand that every single time you acquire a movie, you acquire a certain number of runs. And the better the movie is, the less runs you get of it and the more those runs cost. So it's essentially a big chunk of dollars to have a property that you don't own, that you can't kind of take any value out of, but then that also you can only air like 8 times in a year. I think we aired Brink 8 times in the first week.
In a week, I know. So that was the great thing about the Disney Channel movies, is that they were all wholly owned by us. So we could do anything we wanted with them. We didn't have those big costs. I mean, not to get too technical, but there was never a fee that we had to pay to the agents for packaging or anything like that. We didn't have big star costs because the kids were all pretty much unknowns, and we gave them good money for them, but not good money in terms of what even a minor star would have been. So it was a very cost efficient way of starting a franchise.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that was the cool thing about, DCOM premieres, was like in that first week or so they would play like multiple different times. And I mean, talking with stuff like High School Musical, obviously because that was so huge, they had, and we had talked about this with you, Kimberly, previously, how there were like different versions of High School Musical. There were like the dance along version, the sing along version,
sing along,
the pop-ups, like they would have like different versions of the movies too, and I thought that was a really special thing.
But the funny thing about High School Musical, I'm sure everybody knows this in the back of their mind, but it did not do huge business on its first run. It did well, but it wasn't until it kept building in a second, third, fourth, fifth run. And got bigger and bigger numbers each time, and that is sort of unheard of in the TV movie business. And when we finally got around to making High School Musical 2, that's the one that really went off the charts in terms of initial viewing. That was the most, for a while anyway, it was the most watched TV movie ever. Across
crazy.
all cable, I believe.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Did something finally beat that, Michael? Because that was 17.2 million people. Was it?
Yeah, I know.
And that was before
oh my goodness.
viewing.
Yeah. So
wow.
I'm not sure whether I haven't kept up with that, but certainly nothing on Disney Channel has beaten that since then. But Those were the
Nothing
days.
Outside
That's what
had
I'm nostalgic for.
For a long time, that was the record for cable.
Oh, yeah.
It was huge. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So that's my nostalgia. You don't get successes like that very often in this lifetime.
Oh yeah.
So
Well,
once we had that framework in mind, once Brink worked, like that was the okay, now we know what we're doing and what these movies should
I
look
never
like
thought that.
and what they should feel like. And so I think you see kind of the next movies out of that. I'm trying to remember, I think
Can of Worms.
well, there was definitely, Can of
Right.
Worms, I think, was later. I feel like the
Almost got
next
me
big
fired.
one was either Zenon or Halloween Town.
Those were the big ones.
Okay.
Yes, but Can of Worms was in there. I don't have my list in front of me. I went over it yesterday, but Can of Worms was based on a kid's book about a kid who. Did you all see it?
Can of Worms, yeah. It was the one with like it was like where he wishes like he
Get
moved to
off the
like a
planet.
different planet or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was about a
Huh.
depressed kid, basically, who says, "I'm so desperate, I want to leave the planet," and he broadcasts that to the galaxy, and various aliens come down to try and help him, or make use of him anyway. And it was based on
Ironically, that's almost the plot of Elio.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
there we go. But anyway, we discovered something very key in that, among other things, that Rich Ross hated aliens. So I almost got fired because he didn't like the little puppets in it and stuff. But also that kids were frightened by the idea of a lead who was depressed and was an outsider and kind of a loner and maybe a loser. Because the idea of the Disney Channel movies, as we found out, was we wanted leads that kids would want to hang out with. And if somebody had too many problems and was too sad, they shied away from that. Not because they didn't have empathy for him, but it wasn't fun for him. So we didn't do Can of Worms 2, no doubt.
Did not.
Right.
Can of
No.
Worms was definitely not on my frequently rotated. We would bring it out kind of every once in a while at Halloween, and I think kids would forget it. So I could get like one or two runs out of
Right.
it before kids would remember, oh, I don't like this movie.
That's right. It would occur to them at some point, and then we had to stop. But there's something else I'd like to point out, that during that time, Halloween was very, very good to the Disney Channel. All for so many reasons. I mean, Halloween Town was great because it repeated well time and time and time again, and that started a franchise.
I think one of the interesting things about the Halloween movies, as you can see, is that Disney Channel kind of pioneered Halloween being an entire month.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, now it's like,
Yeah.
now literally, I think I saw that they already announced that the Halloween stuff at Disneyland is going to start in August, like mid-August. So Halloween now runs for Disney corporate now runs from like mid-August to the end of October. But that is a fairly recent development. And even back then, when those movies came out, no one really thought about Halloween being more than like a week-long thing, right? Like you just kind of get into it and get out. And so like if you look at Under Wraps, if you look at the launch date, it launched just days before Halloween, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So, and then you go to the next one, which was Halloween Town, and you're like, oh, that launched in mid-October. Because one of the things we learned with Under Wraps was, oh, we want more time. In Success, it's weird to start playing the Halloween movie the closer you get to Thanksgiving, right? It just feels off. So we're like, hey, we need some runway to air these movies early, and so that we have time to really play them and let kids get to know them. So you'll see that they completely start moving back. And so essentially probably by about year 3 or 4, those movies were starting in the first week of October, if at the latest.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, because it kind of makes sense for to have those type of movies like Halloween Town to kind of like start playing at like the right month when there were a lot of people like focusing on Halloween and all, and saying, oh, those Halloween movies are starting to show up, so they kind of have that vibe to it.
Yeah.
So I know we kind of, in a way, I touched base with you and previously, kind of like how the paths of careers in television and film kind of started. But to those who haven't seen our previous interview with you, can you kind of talk about like what in which really kind of like drew you to careers in both television and film, and kind of how did that path lead you to a Disney Channel?
Sure. I had always wanted to work in TV, kind of, I can't even say subconsciously, that's the wrong word. When I was very young, I realized that this was a job. There was coverage was in the newspaper in the same section as the comics in my paper. So when I would open up to read the comics every morning, there would often be a lot of articles about TV schedules and what was going on in the TV world, especially very much in NBC at the time, which had just been taken over by a man named Brandon Tartikoff, who was legendary and famous for running NBC during its heyday of programming. And so there were a lot of articles on the front page. And because I read a lot and I like to read, I would read these articles and I'd be like, this is a thing? Like, like you just don't know. This was definitely a different time. And there were less channels on the air, to be totally honest. But here was somebody who was deciding what's on TV. And so I thought this sounded like a fascinating career idea. But unfortunately, it was at the time, it felt kind of like it's the equivalent of like maybe being a guy and saying, I want to be a Major League Baseball player, right? It seems so far away. Like, how many people get to do that? It's just extended out and a dream, but nobody you really know becomes a famous baseball player, right? Somebody does, but you don't know a lot of them. So I actually did not go to school for that originally. I went to school for engineering in college, just because I did not know that being in TV and TV and film was really an option that could pay the bills and do something I like. But I really did not like engineering. And ultimately, when I was asked by some teachers, they said, what do you like to do? And I said, well, I really like TV. So fortunately, I had some good teachers who put me on the right path and said, go look at a communications degree. And I did. And then as I was graduating, I talked to the USC Annenberg School for Communications. And they had a degree out here in Los Angeles, which was in communications management. And I know that sounds like that's one way in. There are so many ways into television, but my way was like, oh, I'm going to be a little bit safe here. And I am going to get a degree that maybe lets me work in TV or film or radio or telecoms or whatever. But the true heart of my heart was always television. And so during my whole graduate school time, I kept trying to get into television. I ended up doing an internship for MGM in television. And then from that point, it was really just, getting into television. So I worked at, I got into Disney at Buena Vista Home Video. So I was first working on the home video release of like The Lion King and things like that.
Oh, that's cool.
And then when a job opened up at Disney Channel, I was very much interested, and I went over and I managed to get an interview. And it really is just for anyone who's this not happened to before. But I walked into that interview, and it was the very, very first time I had ever talked to people who talked about TV the way I talked about TV, who were like, oh, we love TV. We love this strategy. We love this idea of why is this show on when. We love to talk about why this show works and why this show failed. And my family are not those people. Love them, but they don't talk about TV. Like, TV is just the thing that entertains them. They're not deeply into it of like, what's on,
right.
when is it on, and when is it on, and how does it work? And walking into that first interview was with a man named Tom O'Brien, who remains a friend. And
he's a great guy.
Yeah, used to be a former TV writer and really just mentored me up at Disney Channel. But he had all of the TV guides behind him, the TV guides that you would come out every single year in that Reader Digest condensed version. And they were just on his bookshelf. And he was the first person I had ever met who saved those like I did. And at that point, it was like, okay, yeah, this is where I am supposed to be.
That's great. Yeah, so
That's wonderful.
Back in.
yes, absolutely. What we were asking Kimberly was kind of like, I guess, kind of like prior to joining Disney Channel, like what kind of drew you to wanting a career in television and film?
I think she just very ably answered that. Saving those TV guides is a real indication of devotion. So
Yes.
Yes, for sure.
so I think that's a life's love and a life's work combined very nicely there for you, Kimberly. And you're very good at it too.
And what about you, Michael?
What about me?
Yeah.
Oh, I wrote about movies. I was a movie critic, and TV was a possibility as a way in, as you were saying. A friend of mine started to sell movies of the week to the networks, and he invited me in to learn how to do that with him. And it was the heyday of Women in Jeopardy and the Disease of the Week and movies like that. And so I learned a lot about programming at that point. And eventually I was plucked out of anonymity by Gary Marsh at Disney Channel when they wanted to try this new kind of programming. So
Right.
I was
You
very
had
lucky to
made, I feel like, did you make the Annette Funicello movie?
I did.
I
Yeah.
think that was kind of how he got on the radar, just so you know. He had
Oh.
made this movie about Annette Funicello, which was
Yeah.
very well received, if I
It
remember
was.
correctly.
She was a very nice person. And she was in sort of the latter days of her illness, but we decided to use her as let her do the voiceover, even though she was, had MS. And so it's a very touching movie, I think now, and it covers the high points. It's not a expose in any way, but it's one I'm really happy with. And I have a picture of myself with 5 Annettes of various ages, from Little
nice.
Musketeer all the way up to grown-up actress. And it was one of the delights of my life back at CBS, where I worked.
Oh, that's lovely.
So, for you, Mako, were there like any projects you thought especially hard to get made?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like things for Disney Channel, say like that you were trying to get made, maybe Disney Channel wasn't entirely on board with it at first, but then eventually they came around to it.
Yeah, it's kind of didn't really get it at first of what your vision is, and then oh, I get it now, kind of. But
Truth be told, there were a lot of them like that. It seemed like every week.
I mean, yeah,
there
that's
was one
showbiz
like
for
that.
you.
But the one that comes to mind is The Color of Friendship, which was
Oh, yes.
you know that one? It's about
One of my
South Africa.
favorites.
And, yeah, one of my favorites too. And I had come upon that story years before when I worked at Warner Brothers, and I had actually written the treatment then, because I was working for somebody who wanted to try and sell it to the networks, and we tried to sell it every place. And people said people are not interested in South Africa. It's about a black family, which the networks weren't particularly keen on at that point. And we kept saying it's really a human story. It's not a political story. But we got no's for, I'd say, 10, 15 years. And when I finally got to Disney Channel, I thought, now here's my opportunity. I've got the treatment. I'm all set to go. And my bosses didn't want to do it either, and because it was not a pure entertainment kind of movie like we were trying to make in those days. And so I did something which was probably not smart in the long run. I pitched it directly to Anne Sweeney at a meeting, and Anne Sweeney, the head of the channel, had wanted something that was going to win her an Emmy, and she liked it and said, I really think that's the kind of thing I would like to make. And so when the door closed, my two bosses said, "Well, looks like we're making that." And so I went ahead and developed the script, and we did indeed win the Emmy for Best Picture, even though we had to use Toronto as the place to make it rather than South Africa. But if you don't look too closely, South Africa and Toronto look a lot like each other. And I've had many people over the years tell me that that movie has meant something to them because it sort of taught a lesson about we're all in this together. We're all just human beings, and I think it was helpful to. That was one that was aimed at kids, but it was loved by parents too, and delighted a lot of parents who were trying to start a conversation with their children about racism. So, 15 years.
And frankly, I'm going to just add needed. One, bad to go over your boss's head, Michael, but Anne Sweeney, by the way, brilliant in kids marketing and really very, very responsible for that whole transition over.
Yeah.
I have lunch with her about once a year or so, and it's she's just remains, by the way, very lovely.
Right.
So good on her for recognizing it because it's really gorgeous. But, I was just having lunch with Suzette Shung, who was essentially the head of production on most of these movies for the channel. She's just retiring from Disney Channel now. And I had lunch with her like last week. And we were talking about how there was, we're in a weird place in this country about diversity, and having a kind of this negative connotation where everyone's like, oh, it's woke, and then woke is being called a bad word. And I'm just like, I don't understand why that's the case. But beyond that, like Disney Channel very early, like if you think about it, was, in that period, kind of before Color of Friendship, we had done Johnny Tsunami, which had, an Asian lead cast. And we had done Don't Look Under the Bed. And I'm going to just say, just up front, that was what, late 90s, maybe?
I believe so,
There was we got some pushback on that from the audience when that movie ended with a very white girl kissing a black boy. And
that's right. Yeah, I'm remembering that scene there, yes.
Not approve. So I was always glad when we pushed those envelopes because that's ridiculous that we got that pushback, but we did. So, I think doing a movie like Color of Friendship was important to do just because it was important to talk about that kind of stuff. It was, that it was, still ongoing. It's not huge. It's not like we had like this giant reaction or like this giant boycott or anything, but as someone who worked in programming, who got the calls, it was out there still, that level of like uncomfortableness.
I think we made a real decision at some point to not worry about that. I mean, to go ahead and cast, colorblind casting has now got a bad reputation, but we just cast the roles according to who could do the part better. And we didn't care whether kids were black, white, green, Asian, anything like that. And because we wanted to actually pretend it was a better America than it was, that people were judged not by the color of their skin, but by the quality of their acting. So that was our intent. And I think what we were trying to do in a quiet way was desensitize everybody to that kind of reaction that you're talking about. That God knows our movies were so innocent that if somebody kissed somebody else, it was usually on the sequel because we wouldn't allow it on the first one. So
right, because the first one kind of like tells everyone's story, and then the sequels kind of like dive into, I guess, kind of like other aspects like of these people, sort of.
Yeah, it goes a little deeper.
Yeah.
But our notion was just, pretend racism doesn't exist. I mean, we didn't do that with Color of Friendship and a few others, but we did not attack race very well, to tell you the truth. I mean, all we did was ignore it very well, and people, accepted our kids as kids rather than as representatives of races, I think. There was a movie called um, uh, Let It Shine, which is I think one of the best movies we made. It was a rap gospel musical with the kid from Everybody Loves Chris.
Oh yeah,
And
and again, another such a powerful movie. I mean,
I think it was a terrific movie.
such a great movie.
Yeah, and I remember having a conversation with one of the bosses in the beginning, and he said, "Well, maybe we cast a white kid as the as the rapper." I said, I don't think we can." I said, I think not only," I said, "we're going to do one rap movie. We're not going to do a dozen rap movies. If we're doing a dozen, one of them could be Eminem. But other than that, this is a black forum, and um, it would be an incredible insult to black kids if we had to cast white people in the leads for this movie." And we cast who we cast, and he was great, and I think that was important.
What was the female lead in that? Was that Coco?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think to kind of Michael saying, most of the time we tried not to think about it. Like, it wasn't a massive conversation, but you'd forget, like Up and Away, for example, right?
Yeah,
Like the
yep.
story with black superheroes. Now, that was not the
Right,
greatest
okay.
movie. Like, that movie, Michael, sometimes you have to talk about the fact that that movie kept getting shorter every single time you gave me a cut to the company. It was like, it's an hour 40, it's an hour 30, it's an hour 20. It's a very short movie, Michael.
But shorter and longer, because I had to put special effects in, whole scenes of special effects that would pull up the plot. Yeah, the director did not do a great job on that, but it was a fun idea.
It was, but at the time, I know you weren't thinking about it because it is not something we thought about. We just thought we had a good story here. But you realized, I don't think a lot of black families saw themselves as superheroes, right? Yeah. Like, there was a reason Black Panther became so important, is because all the superheroes that kids could name were white, and we had just done a story about a black superhero family, and like I said, we weren't doing it because it was a black superhero family. It was just the movie that was pitched to us. But but then you go back and you're like, and Disney was doing that in early 2000s.
Yeah, well, one of the things also is just a programming notion, trying to get, if you're trying to do 12 movies a year, you want to try and freshen them up. And putting an all-black cast on a rather standard movie idea is a way of making it a little special, I remember when I was at CBS, they were going to do a remake of Madam X, but they were kind of scared because it was going to be such a by the books kind of remake of an old chestnut movie, and the head of programming said, "Why don't we do it all black?" I said, "Yeah, then we could call it Malcolm X." I got a laugh in the meeting anyway, but that is true that we did try to cast all black sometimes as a way of saying, if there is there some way to make this story a little bit special, even though it's we've seen it before.
Right.
But I will go back and say that I think we talked about this before, that originally we were trying to make 12 movies a year, one movie every single month. That was the goal when Michael first came aboard. And as someone who sat in on the meetings we had about how many movies you have to have in development to get to 12 a month.
Yeah.
Like, we don't talk enough about how insane that number was.
It
really just comes down. You have to take it's like 100 movies to get to 10, essentially. It's about a 10-to-1 where you get them all the way through the process and to air. And so, when we were doing 12, we attempted it, I think, for 2 years to do 12. I think we actually managed it for one. I think there's 1 year where we got 12 out. But I think one of the things that we realized is just from an audience perspective, talking to you guys and to the audience. It wasn't giving us even enough time to talk about the movie. One would be airing and we'd have to be talking about the next one already. And so just one of the things we learned in that was that 12 great is a great goal. And we understood why, like, oh, have a big event movie every single month. And then we're like, you know what? The way we use these, the way we can make them run out over courses of months and still have them play, we don't need one every single month. And so that did free up a little bit of Michael's time to be like, less churn. We can make slightly better movies if, by making 9, 8, and that went down every year. But I feel like when you were making about 8 movies a year, that was about when we were just really gangbusters.
Yeah, but the bosses were not too happy with volume. They liked they like to make as less as possible often, just because they like the idea of everything being an event. But everything is not an event, particularly when you're doing one a month. They're
Right.
And I think what got the franchise really going, though, was the dependability of kids being able to look on Friday night for a Disney Channel original movie, or fairly original anyway. And I think once we established that, then we could back off and do fewer and bigger. But I think as a programmer myself, I think that there's nothing like really feeding the beast. Even though it may not be the best movie in the world, at least it's there and it says Disney Channel, and kids are going to know where to show up for it. So that was back in the days when a slot in a schedule meant something. It means almost nothing now, sadly.
I think it's interesting because I was just scrolling through Facebook, and for some reason, like the Lawrence brothers are in my feed at the moment. And I don't know why. I did not go looking for the Lawrence brothers, but at some point they did something and it came up. And I legitimately, Michael, forgot that they had done 2 movies for us. Like, I mean, I know it, like when
3.
3? Okay, see, there we go. They did 3. I remember Horse Sense. And then there was the one with the ship. What was the third one?
The third one was The Other Me. That was with
there were a few because there was Horse Sense and Jumping Ship, which I think were with all 3.
Yes.
And then The Other Me was with Andy, and then Going to the Mat was with Andy.
That's right. Yep.
And going to the mat, I mean, oh my gosh. It's again one of my favorite DCOMs. I mean, just the way they kind of tackled that story about, someone who was blind and wants to get on the wrestling team. Like, that's such a wonderful movie.
Okay. I love that. Wow.
Oh, good. Can I tell you a little story about that?
Yeah,
because, one of the things that I had to do is I had to take lots of pitches from producers who would come in with ideas or stories that they wanted to develop. And with that story, it was a story just about teenage wrestling, honest to God. And they gave me all the information about how high school wrestlers, were coming. They're becoming a big thing and stuff like that. But there was no story there. There was nothing to say except these boys were, throwing each other on the ground a lot. But they gave me the handout, and in the very last page of the handout, it said, and this is true, it was the last thing on the page. It said, wrestling is the only sport in which sighted and blind kids compete against one another with no change of the rules. And so I kind of stood up from my chair and said, well, that's the story. We got to, and that's how we created the story from that. We the rest of it was made up, but it could have been true.
Yeah, again,
I love that. That's great to have, for Disney Channel to have that, kind of diverse and like to have that reminder that like you are enough, no matter what challenges that you face.
Absolutely.
No matter what different you are with other normal kids, like no like you are is enough, you know.
Yeah, yeah. That was all we thought all of these movies were. I used a phrase, good propaganda for compassion, uh, because it's rough being a tween or a teenager, and we gave them a little love and a little sympathy and understanding in every one of them, and we did that for the parents too. We didn't we didn't make the parents idiots. They may have been mistaken, or they may have been on the wrong track, so to speak, but the parents were doing the best they could, and were not objects of comedy usually.
Right. So now Disney Channel had also done a lot of movies that were like adapted from books. Obviously, one of them was the Zenon franchise. So how did that kind of come about? What made
Did you ever
Dis
see what that book is? It's a book about that big, teeny weeny little picture book about a girl living on a
Okay.
space station.
I hadn't
So
read the original book, but that's interesting.
yeah, it's not like a novel or anything like that. It's a little picture book that gave us an idea. Um, uh, Carol Rubin particularly gave her an idea for what could be a movie, and we made it up. All the rest, Stu Krieger, I believe, was the guy who actually wrote the story,
Oh, we
and he
love
came
Stu.
up.
We've had him
Yes,
on our
dude,
show
he's great.
before.
Previous
Isn't he a wonderful
guest,
guy?
he's
Yeah,
awesome.
and he really
Yes,
manipulated the
indeed.
language, and it was sort of a group effort to figure out what if you were on a space station, what would your jewelry look like? It would look like probably stuff that you didn't have to carry along with you. It'd be stuff that you could harvest from the old circuit boards and things like that. Um, and we really it was a creative high point for me and for others, I think. And then we had Kenny Johnson, who, for all of his uh, self-worth, inflated self-worth, is a terrific director. And he came in and really put uh, put it together. And I always, when people would tell me that we couldn't do something at Disney Channel because it was too expensive, I'd say, "Hey, look, we built a space station, and
Yeah.
twice, and so if we can do that, we
Yeah,
can probably do a lot of other expensive things too."
I love the first scene on, and
Yeah,
I love the song, the Zoom, Zoom, Zoom,
yeah,
the
Yes.
song. And
Protozoa.
okay.
I love that Raven is in the first one. I think the
yeah.
girl who
Yeah.
replaced her is lovely. I had really no problem with her, but you people forget that Raven was in that first one. And
Raymond
um,
didn't forget though.
didn't forget that. But she was like amazingly popped as the best friend, and
Mhm.
I think that really kind of helped move her out along in Disney Channel world as well. But yeah, that movie is just so fun.
It
It is
is.
fun. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
we tried with Xenon the sequel, and that was pretty good. And then
Yeah.
Z3, when we went to the moon, we picked the wrong director in that case, and we went to South Africa, which is not a good place to make a science fiction movie, a futuristic science fiction movie, or it wasn't, 30 years ago. It's probably much better now, but we just kind of blew it, and that was another one where I had to go back in and create whole scenes from visual effects with Dan Schmidt because they had never been shot. Um, but we still love the franchise.
Wasn't Z3 also originally supposed to be theatrical? Like I swore I like read that somewhere that like Z3 was going to be like theatrical at first and then things didn't end up working out and it just ended up being a DCOM like the two before.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we never had a theatrical budget or anything like that. It was very much of the sort that we made.
Gotcha. You
Which
meant
is Xenon one or two the one where the space station is crashing? It's one, right?
Both.
Oh, Well, I can't remember which movie it happened, but there was my memory of it from a scheduler side is on one of those. I can't remember if it was one or two. Feels like it was maybe one. Like we were just premiering this thing, like basically it was just coming out, and one of the shuttles exploded on re-entry coming back in.
It was a great publicity stunt, but I don't know
was,
whether you should have done it, Kimberly.
was really terrible. And so we decided like to pull the movie, and it was running like twice that day. And so like, it was like one of those calls that we get. And we do this a lot. It probably happens more than you can imagine, but on something like that, like a big news story, national tragedy, like the last thing one was, oh, now we have this movie on where the space station is potentially falling out of the sky, is going to blow up. It was just a little too real and too connected. So I had to run in that morning and pull it off the air, and it was super tight. It was very, very close. Like within an hour that movie was going on. And if you know anything about broadcasting in the kind of digital age, the movie was this was right before this, but the movie was preloaded into a computer that was then going to run it out. And so we had to make the replacement schedule, fill all the time, and by the time we got that done and all the standards checks and kind of everything we needed, when I went down there was this guy, old school, right? This guy had come up before digital was a thing, and he was rewinding the physical tape of the movie in the machine and holding it with his finger.
Oh, really?
As someone counted down like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, remove the finger, run the replacement movie. It was that tight.
Very dramatic.
Interesting. So now with Zenon, of course, Stu Krieger wrote that, but he also wrote another one of my favorites, Smart House.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, so what was Smart House like? And also having LeVar Burton there to direct that one.
Yeah, well, it was, LeVar had not directed much before that. So he was very enthusiastic and wearing his beret and actually stuck around all day, which was good. But he had to really step it up in order to do it. I think that movie made it because of its high concept and we had Katie Seagal as the house too, and she was a very good comedian. Did a great job, I think. But Alan Sachs was the producer of it, who's now deceased, sad to say. But Alan had a real he had his finger on the pulse of pop culture for a long time, and he was fun to hang around with too.
Also, props, I think, there to Ryan Merriman. He
was terrific, wasn't he?
He played on Every Kid so well. And by the way, he was one of the most grounded actors. Literally, you see all types going through with kids, especially like every version of that kind of thing. Kids who really want to be actors, obsessed with it. He was so just a normal kid who was very good at acting.
He was. And he played a leprechaun very well, too.
He really did.
Yes, like the Irish, yes. It's a great one.
Right, that's right. So now, what kind of drew DC Channel to want to tell a story like Johnny to Tsunami that kind of balances surfing and snowboarding?
Well, it's the writers came up with the idea, and that's Doug Sloan and Anne. I can't remember Anne's name, but they came up with the idea and came and pitched it to us. And my boss said, it never happened. It would never be any kind of conflict between those two groups. And we said, well, it would. And we had to sort of fight our way through it. When he saw the script, he liked it well enough to let us go ahead with it. But, it made perfect sense to us. And it was, once again, it was a high concept with a lot of heart to it, I think. And it was funny, in those days, people did not know the word tsunami. It was not it was not a word
Right.
that was universally used. I mean, it was before the big tragedies in the East, and I even remember Michael Eisner saying, "Good movie," but what do you say? How do you say that word? It was a foreign word or something like that. Anyway,
It was Ann Knapp, by the way, Michael.
but
It was Ann Knapp.
yes,
Yeah,
she
I
worked
love
on Power
Johnny
Rangers.
Tsunami. Johnny Tsunami. I would say that like at that time we were gangbuster doing movies with some kind of vague sports
Oh
theme
yeah,
in
Yeah.
it, that just would play. So like I could put like Brink, Johnny Tsunami, 13th Year, which you remember
yeah,
had like that swimming element
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
love that
in it
one.
Mhm.
at the time. Like those movies I could just run over and over. That combination. Smart House did not have the sports movie on there, but kind of like we had a lot of like strong boy movies at that
Yeah,
time.
A lot of
we did.
relatable movies too.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, a lot of
Right.
relatable movies.
And with our audience, we kind of got the girls because they were the converts, but the boys were tougher to get, uh, as we showed with the musicals. Were you ever, Kimberly, in any of those um, uh, those meetings where we tried to see what boys thought of musicals, and we'd play some for them, and the 12-year-old boy does not like a musical by and large. It's yuck, and is this kissing stuff and things like that. Um, so sports could bring them in, musicals could not.
Right.
Yes.
I know
Yeah.
musicals didn't even the musical DCOMs didn't even really come in until probably I'd say Cheetah Girls, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
and that was all girl.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun trying to find the boy cell to that. There, it is literally one of my favorite stories. I might have told last time I was here, but like the powers that be were like, you got to try to sell this movie to boys. Like it's got all the girls,
Yeah,
but you got to try to sell it to boys. So there's like one part in that movie, one where like the girls are singing and there's a boy on an electric guitar, like wailing away on an electric guitar, and he's very featured in the promo campaign for the boys. For that 3 minutes, he was on the air wailing on electric guitar.
right, right.
Oh man.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we had
that's
I
one
mean,
of
we had a lot of good ones. I mean, they weren't all gems. Sometimes you forget about them. You know,
Yeah. This
like
happens.
Alley Cat Strike was one of those sportsy
That was
movies.
Rich Ross's favorite movie.
Was it really?
That was a
Yeah, okay.
friendship between two boys, one black, one white, and uh, it's about bowling.
That's a
And
fun one.
yeah, that's a,
Yeah.
and
And
we
then
play. And the thing is, the music is funny too because it's sort of swing music rather than
Yeah.
straight rock and roll.
Yeah, I like the scenes where you see like the characters like dancing to the song. That's cool.
Mhm.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
my favorite underappreciated sports movie, no joke, is Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Love that movie.
Hmm. I love that movie too.
Yeah, Orlando Brown was in that one. Yeah.
Right. Hmm.
A lot of wonderful
Mark
people were
Keller.
in
That's
that.
right.
Yep.
I
Or
love the
Taylor. Yep.
whole concept of. I really like that you guys pushed on this idea of like, hey, this kid loves to cook, and he's
Yeah.
like, it was like that early High School Musical message of like, hey, like you don't have to be a girl. I can like cooking,
Yeah.
and and with him struggling to do cooking or the baseball, of very kind of some of the early ideas you saw later in High School
Well,
Musical.
it's very much an allegory of gayness too, and the writer, in fact, said that this was
Yeah.
his coming out um, movie, and it didn't hit it on the head too hard, but that's exactly what this is make dad acknowledge who you are. Don't give in to your stupid brothers who think you're a sissy. And
Right.
I think we couldn't even use the word gay in those days, I think, but But
Yeah,
that's
right.
certainly what the movie was about.
Hmm.
Do you agree,
Yeah.
Kimberly?
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that one. And then I feel like Johnny Tsunami was the only one that had a sequel that didn't necessarily work super duper
Johnny
well.
Capahala back on board, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was just too late. I think we
I
waited too
agree.
long to do it. We should
The
have
kid
just
had grown up.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
should have just jumped right in and made another one.
exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Um, so what first brought True Confessions into development and telling, a story about someone who has a brother with autism to kind of have another film to focus on diverse and all that. So what was that,
yeah,
how that came about?
Kimberly, you might correct me, but I believe that it started with the script. Um, and I can't remember who wrote it, but it was a really, really good script, and it was sort of out of our pure entertainment wheelhouse. But we thought it would be if we could get Shia, we thought we could get sort of a big enough star cell at that point to make it worthwhile for our kids.
He
Because
was
even
so good
Stevens
in
was
that
going in
movie.
again. Yeah, he was, and he wasn't at first either. By the way, he, which he knows, he was going to do sort of Rain Man, and we made him go back and actually meet some autistic people, and and not just give an idea of but actually say this is how people actually act, other than Dustin Hoffman. And he did his work, and he got to know some kids, and he spent some time with them, and came back with the very nuanced kind of performance that he gave. I thought he ended up being great in it.
That was written by Stu Krieger as well. So that's just like I
Yeah,
said,
let's do.
that guy was bang on with his scripts. And
He,
I
Oh
agree.
yeah.
I think that was the story on the page on that one was so good and so
yeah,
strong. And I mean, Shia was amazing in it and had proven, I think, already that he was going to be a really strong actor. So I'm glad
yeah,
to hear that he, did the work. But I think a lot of people also underappreciate Clara Bryant in that movie.
she's terrific. Yeah, very, very moving.
Yes, and also very funny and under wraps as well.
Yep, yep,
Yeah. She
Yeah,
was
Yeah.
really,
such a great actress.
really just
Yeah,
had
it's
kind of a
awesome.
slightly sarcastic vibe to her that kind of could play very well.
Yeah.
mhm,
She kind of played it under
Yeah.
wraps, but definitely had to play a very role of like a girl who loves her brother but is sometimes challenged by him, and
yep.
that's a
Mhm.
lot to put on her. And then just to throw it in there, you just remembering the other talent was Mare Winningham played the
Yeah,
mom in
yeah,
that
she
one.
did.
I mean Mare Winningham, hello.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy to
Uh,
get her.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
it's we also we pointed out a couple of times what's true of families who have some special needs, uh, like Miracle in Lane 2. I mean, that
Yep.
as much as it is um, about Frankie Muniz, it's who's in the wheelchair, and it is the protagonist, but it's about his sister too, and what happens to a girl who's in a family like that, who the brother gets all the attention, and is so needy in terms of what the parents think, that they have to be very careful not to cripple their other kid because don't have time for them. That's a theme also in um, Quince, which is based on a newspaper story about a a family that had five boys, uh, as quintuplets, and the last line of that newspaper story was, and there's also a 13-year-old boy who is the older brother of those kids. Can you imagine being in a household and being the only child, and then all of a sudden having five babies come into your life, and what that does to your parents' attention, and what it does to your
Yeah.
lifestyle?
Yeah.
So we thought that would make a movie, and it does.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. That's wonderful. Like, Yeah, it's wonderful, like those films that we just talked about, like from us, from having a little bit of the autism spectrum, for having for Disney Channel, for able to have to want to show more inclusion about
Yeah,
those films, about about that they're like the people, there are people like us that would
yeah,
have
exactly.
some challenges, but like, at the same time, for what Disney Channel did, they just they made the film so well that they made those type of films like that
Well,
such
we
a
can,
special thing,
yeah,
and I think it's a great thing for you guys, for what you guys try to do with
good.
those films.
I'm glad you think that because it's, we really hope that by showing how people can treat each other well, uh,
Yeah,
we'd up the level of discourse and family harmony in the world. Not to put
Absolutely.
too fine a point on
The
it.
other goal, which you saw a lot in those, when we were talking about the promos last time, right? Around that time when we started doing
Yeah,
the promos that had the brand promises in them, like follow your
right.
dreams, and we'd interview the cast and have a more serious tone into
Oh,
them
I
and things
love
like that.
those.
But those were
Yeah,
also part of the brand promises built into Disney that we felt like, you know,
yeah,
showing the world just as it is, that there are different kinds of families, there are different kinds of
yeah,
kids, there are different, everyone's got kind of their thing. Ultimately, you throw in some whimsy or some magic or something to make,
exactly.
kind of take the story. But a lot of these at heart are, stories about growing up and finding your place and finding yourself. And, and I think one of the reasons they resonated so well for so long is we were telling a lot of different people's stories,
Yes, we will.
that you have in this Michael's just body of work, stories about, Black superheroes and girl race kart drivers and
Right.
kids with cerebral palsy doing a sport, and kids who play baseball wanting to cook, kids who play basketball wanting to dance. Like, it was just literally this kind of idea
yeah.
of like,
I love those.
let kids be who they are.
Yeah. You
Exactly.
know, and the thing is, I think we pushed it about as far as you can push it when we had the movie You Wish. That's the one in
Right.
which there's a Lawrence brother in that one too. I think it's Matthew Lawrence, or maybe it's not. No, it's AJ Trouth, who looks like a
Right.
Lawrence.
Okay.
But
Yes.
it's about him getting a magic coin and wishing away his little brother Spencer Breslin. He
Yeah.
wishes, yeah, he thinks his life could be so much better if that little kid hadn't come on the scene. And it's kind of a mean uh, concept, but we made it not so mean by when Spencer disappears from the family, he becomes the biggest kid star in America. So he's on billboards every place. He's never really out of the movie because he's the biggest success possible. Um, so you never get to stop and think, well, this guy wished his brother away, and then when he's got to wish him back into the life that he had before it, it's got some feels to it, I'd say.
Oh yeah, directed by the wonderful Paul Hohen. I mean,
Wonderful Paul Hohen, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
Paul.
what was
Yes,
it?
he's awesome.
And was it like kind of having people on board who had, written or produced or directed a bunch of DCOMs? Because I mean, names that come to mind like Stu Krieger, Paul Hohen, or Stuart Gillard or Dan
Yeah,
Berenson. Like, what was it like having those people on board who had, you know, just had such a lovely career, writing or
yeah.
directing, producing for the channel?
Well, we can certainly count on them. There's no question about that. I mean, Paul Paul was great, and he was one of my favorite directors, time after time after time, because he could do everything. There was some theory that he couldn't do um, all-out comedy, but I thought he could, and every time we had him do it, it was very funny. Um, but he was great at what he did, and I'm glad that we got to keep him rather than him ending up in features. Uh, Dan
Right.
Berenson is a terrific writer, um,
Yeah.
and I'm surprised we got held on to him as long as we did too.
Right.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
wonderful.
We also
absolutely.
shouldn't underestimate the importance of casting. I mean, we haven't talked
Oh.
about it really a lot this time, but um, in the early days, it was Tina Treadwell, and then it was Judy Taylor who did the casting for a lot of our movies. And I think it's stunning to look back and see how many big name talent, current modern big name talent,
Without
ultimately
question.
did a Disney Channel movie.
Before they were big names.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the great thing is she discovered these people. She discovered um, um, Zach Efron, pretty much. I think he'd been in one show before or something like that, but she's the one who really saw what he could do, and she got his teeth fixed.
Brie Larson in Right on Track and America
Exactly.
Oh,
Ferrera in Gotta
yes.
Kick It Up.
Mhm.
Oh,
And
man.
even the ones that didn't do that well, Genius, the girl star, there was Emmy Rossum, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
And
just
yeah, and we talked about Alley Cat Strike a moment ago, Kaylee Cuoco.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before the plastic surgery, she was such a beautiful little girl.
Oh, yeah.
and she did a couple for us, didn't she?
No.
No,
Just one.
just the one. Huh.
I think so. Yeah.
So with High School Musical and with that having recently turned 20, because one of the other reasons why I wanted to really do this interview and have the both of you on was because 2006, obviously that was such a huge and almost revolutionary year for Disney Channel with just
For sure.
everything that had premiered during that year. I mean, just wild. So with High School Musical specifically, we had touched base a little bit on that earlier, but how did that kind of first come on to Disney Channel's radar, like originally?
It was pitched uh, as a uh, as a script by Peter Barsacchini to, I think, directly to Gary, um, and he said, "Let's give it a try." It was we'd been looking for to do a musical for quite a while, and had a number of false starts, and but this one this one was good enough that we thought we could hire um, Kenny Ortega, who was in he was in director's jail at that time because of some of his behavior. Nothing lascivious, but he was very sure of himself, and a lot of executives could not deal with him. But we got him on the rebound, and we said to him at the first meeting where we're going to hire him. He said to us, "Now this script," he said, "is it's a good script, but it's about a high school musical. It is not a high school musical itself." And we said, "Yeah, that's what we want you to do." And he did. He oversaw the development of it, putting the music in, uh, uh, making it much more of a musical format, and and uh, and it worked remarkably well. As Gary Marsh said about that project, which he takes full credit for, of course, he said we did everything right in that movie. The casting was absolutely right, the music was right, the writing was right, and so we lucked out. And having lucked out, then we had the incentive to go on and do more of them.
Yeah, and then Kenny was also there again for Cheetah Girls too,
He
which
was.
probably I think well within the three Cheetah Girls, I think two is probably my favorite. I really love two a lot.
He did he did a great job, and we were in Barcelona, and those dance sequences are fantastic.
Gosh,
Um,
yeah,
I
and
think I think the music is strongest in two as well.
I
Like I had
do.
it on in my
I agree.
car just randomly the other day. It kind of popped up through my shuffle list,
Yep, I have
and
the DVD right
um,
here. There you
There
go.
it is.
and you forget Strut's a really strong song, and the little lullaby they sing with Belinda is
Yeah,
Yeah.
just gorgeously
Okay.
done, and the one where they kind of like fight and say it's
It's
say it's
over.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good strong bangers out there, and then
Yep.
Amigas Cheetahs at the end, super
Yeah,
super strong.
that's a dynamite number. The thing is, I would, as much as I like that movie, I would say Cheetah Girls 3, directed by Paul Hohen, shot in India,
Yeah.
is overlooked, sadly.
It is,
And
and I think that's because Raven's not in it. I think that's one of the
that's
main reasons why it's not
I
talked about as
I
much.
agree. We thought we could get away with it, but we showed we couldn't. And
I liked it though. It was good. I enjoyed it. I
good,
thought it was very fun.
I thought that one was the most beautiful movie we had shot.
agreed.
Like
Mhm.
HD was just really coming into play right
Yes,
around that
Okay.
time. And I think it was the first one that they kind of were like, hey, do you guys think we should down? Well, a lot of the channels hadn't converted yet.
correct.
So that movie was kind
Mhm.
of the one they were using to say, like, hey guys, if you up convert this, look how amazing it looks
Yeah,
on screen and with all the flowers from a pure cinematic perspective, like if I'm the lighting guy, the DP guy, and the sides, that yeah, that movie is gorgeous.
it really is. And I think that I think Ray's played an unfortunate role in that lack of success of that movie because uh, everybody was either black or brown in it, and um, there was no white way in, so to speak. And it's a terrible thing to say, but it was what was said to me by by the producer, who was a black woman herself. She said, just give me one white person and white boy to make this better." And we said,
Mm.
we love the people we've got in this movie, and we never played to that race card, did we, Kimberly?
We did not. And yeah, I mean, I think that unfortunately, just by having lost Raven in that movie as well, like I don't know if sometimes some things, as you point out, they're just hard to overcome, you know?
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of the same thing with Halloween Town when we
That
had,
was when we
Iconic film.
Yes, right,
lost
with the
Kimberly.
fourth one. Yeah.
yeah, like it
Right.
just, if it's so associated with that, it's really hard to manage.
Yeah.
The damn thing about the Cheetah Girls 3 is that the reason we developed it was because I had a conversation um, with Raven back in Barcelona when we were shooting the second one. And I said, maybe we'll go to India on the next one. She said, oh, you go to India and I'm there. And I thought, oh, I'll hold you to it, but I couldn't hold her to it.
That woman got busy.
She did.
Um,
She did,
I'll tell you
definitely.
what was one of my favorite movies from that year. Like High School Musical gets all of the, and I am never downgrading it. High School Musical is like all the songs work, all the dances work. It's that
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
single thing in there earworms your way into your brain. I will be
Yes.
on my deathbed singing those songs.
Yes.
Especially Stick to the
Literally.
Status Quo. That is legitimately super duper stuck in my
Breaking
head.
Free, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But kind of and Cheetah Girls 2 was in that year as well. So that was a
Yep.
banger year for movies. But the
And
one we like that I really liked in that group was Wendy Wu.
Wendy Wu was a favorite movie of mine too.
Okay.
And Jump In was that year too. Do you know
Right.
Jump
Love
In? That
Jump
was
In,
the
yes.
double
Also Paul
Dutch.
Hohen.
Paul Hohen, huge rating getter um, off the bat. But Wendy Wu was fantastic. We shot it in New Zealand, and we worked our tails off too. And I think um, I tried to do a second one, but things never quite came together. But I thought that was the kind of you could make a big feature out of that, and I think
Oh yeah.
that Brenda was fantastic in it. And I can't remember the kid's name, the martial arts guy who wasn't much of an actor, but he was a great star, I think, in that. Um,
Oh, Shin Koyamada, is that his name?
yes,
Yeah.
Shin.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
And then
That's
Kimberly, we
great.
agree with you.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, obviously, going back a little bit with High School Musical, because it was such a phenomenal franchise. Like there's not a lot of like franchises like those type of TCOMs that I went on to a lot that we still talk about. Like obviously, Halloween Town and Cheetah Girls and all, but High School Musical, it was such a big thing that they still talked about it, and not just like you already mentioned, Kimberly, like the songs and the writing and how it goes to the storyline. And it's just amazing. Obviously, talk about in the cast, Zac Efron, and
Yep.
obviously, where Drew Seeley got to sing choice parts in the first film, and then Zac obviously got to sing and hit himself like for the layer of films, and then Corbin Blue and Vanessa, and it's a
Ashley
wonderful
Tisdale,
cast on the
yeah.
franchise. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It's
For
amazing.
me, the part that always cracked me up, I was not super familiar with Zach. He had done a pilot for us, so he really was very new to my radar.
Yeah.
Only ever seen him in the
Uh,
one show, but um, the one that really, well, I love Corbin. Corbin is great. He's so funny in it. But
Yes.
I also say that like we were fairly familiar with Ashley. We had known Ashley for a
Uh-huh.
while. I had
okay,
known
yeah,
Ashley
okay.
for a while. Um, and I watching her play Sharpay after seeing her so many years
Yep.
playing Maddie on
Yes.
Sweet Life.
Hmm.
I love that.
Me too.
And she was so strong that so much of that second movie is really about on her shoulders as well,
That's why I
um
did that on purpose.
comedically, and
Yeah.
like it's just really really um, I think it's rare that the second movie can, outperforms the first. And then the
Yep.
second movie is also just so super duper solid
Yes.
that,
Oh yeah.
and bigger in scope. And yet, realistically speaking, like those dance numbers and those songs are just as
Oh yeah.
kind of as big.
Yep.
And the
Amazing.
story works and it will play over and
Yeah.
over. It's not a one hit wonder of like, oh, we watched it because we know it and then we forgot about it. That
Yeah.
two also really, really works as a long tail play. Um,
Yes.
the only thing I don't like about three is that it went theatrical, so
Yeah.
later on
Yeah.
didn't get to play it the
Yeah.
same way you
Okay.
could play
Okay.
one and two because it had a different financial model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with three also, the people would not do notes on three because everybody was a genius. So it was very difficult to make any kind of adjustments to it. I think three could have been a much stronger story and a bunch of other things, but nobody asked.
I think it
Right.
was trying to do a lot too,
Yeah.
because that was another one where they knew we were going to be losing these characters. And
Hmm.
so it's always hard when
Yeah.
you're trying to both finish one story, but like establish the new
Yeah.
characters in a new story. They were trying to do that both in the
Yeah.
movie. And so, um, Zombies is going through a little bit of that right now where they're phasing out the original
Okay.
group and kind of trying to bring up the second group. That's just
Right.
always a challenge, right? Like when
Yep.
you're
Yeah.
kind of serving to the masters there, you see some of that same thing play out in like superhero movies a lot, right? When
Yeah.
they're trying to like both establish the current movie, but they're like, well, we got to get this character in because that, we got to do things and stick to the story. That being said, the dance numbers alone are so amazing in High School Musical 3. Like Kenny Ortega with a budget, with a huge budget,
Yeah. Yeah.
is
Yeah.
some of those are so crazy. The boys in the junkyard, just
Yeah.
lots of fun. And the Sharpay
Yeah.
Evans and Ryan Evans number,
Yes.
nuts.
Pop to the
Yeah.
top. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Yeah. The boys are back.
And the third
Just
one,
a
yeah.
lot of yeah. Third one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful songs. Franchise as a whole. It's
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
amazing.
And
But
what
we always say that with High School Musical 1, I think part of the amazingness of it is that no one saw it coming. Everyone can tell you they knew it was going to be a hit and blah blah
Hmm.
blah. We made every movie with the same energy. We loved the movies we made. We didn't greenlight something on a like, oh, let's go ahead and just make this, right? Like
No.
we believed in every movie that we made, whether they worked or they didn't, or we couldn't quite get it there. They were all made with the same of like, this is going to be great. We really love this. And everybody had that in High School Musical of doing this movie, which, by the way, we really could not come up with a better name than High School Musical. We'll say that we tried.
Right.
So when we started getting some of the early responses, we started playing the music around December of 2005, and it started rising up on the charts before the movie had even come out. Like it was just continually for about 3 months, just every day was like, we've never seen this before. We've never seen this before. As Michael pointed out, when we premiered it, it did great. It actually was a very highly rated movie. I believe maybe the highest at the time. But what made it that we had never seen it before was that the second run did better than the first run, and the third run did better than the second run. And literally had never seen that before. Like, as someone who had like the numbers in my head of how movies could do, I never had. Gary called me and I said, he always used to call me on like Mondays or Tuesdays and be like, well, how does this movie kind of fall in the grades? It's going to be an A, a B, or C. And you could tell really within those first couple of plays how it was going to do. And I'm like, I don't know, Gary. I was like, this one's out of my bounds. I have never seen this before, where the subsequent airings are doing better than the one we drove everybody to, the premiere. And then that went on for weeks, where it didn't matter how many times we aired it. It pulled a number, and then it became this game of trying to sustain it and trying to make it last. But then it also became this, Good Morning America wants to talk to the stars, or they want to play Get Your Head in the Game at a basketball game. Like every
iconic song. We're all in this together,
it was being asked to do things they'd never been asked to do before. Licensed music for outside use and radio play and live performances, which we had that whole problem with Zach not being the singer in the first one. So legitimately, so much of that was, to me, Michael made a great movie. Just well done. Kenny Ortega killed it with the music. Script worked, resonated with kids. Zach and Vanessa are beautiful and have a lot of on-screen chemistry and off-screen chemistry, but chemistry. But also just the people behind the scenes, the Disney Channel team were all just doing the best work that they'd ever done, and were just being challenged every day, and they were stepping up and being like, how do we make this last? How do we keep this going? So whether it was online games presence or the people who like made the pop-up video version of it or whatever, just genuinely a lot of people behind the scenes who were very, very committed to the success of that movie.
No, it was everybody's win.
Absolutely.
No question about that.
Absolutely. So now, with 2006 being, like I had mentioned before, a huge year for Disney Channel, with that movie and with Cowbells and Wendy Wu and Read It and Weep, and I mean, you can go on. Did you sense at the time that the channel or the brand really had kind of like hit a new peak, basically?
I think, Michael, you can talk about like what that meant once you finally had that hit movie, like what that meant to you guys on the channel. As you noted, we were on an upswing there that just didn't stop for a long time. It wasn't even peaking with High School Musical. High School Musical kicked it off. Hannah Montana, and then later Wizards of Waverly Place. Like it was genuinely 2006 was the year where everything that we'd been trying to do finally came together. And you can't plan that, but that's when it happened. Like that was the year it all worked. And even the things that didn't work still worked for what we needed them
worked
to
well
do.
enough.
So I don't think it at the time. it's happening. At the time it was happening, we were living in a world of this is crazy. We've never seen this before.
Yeah.
But also the studio who would normally, corporate Disney, who would normally let us live in our own little world of like, oh yeah, they're great. They're not theatrical. Like they started paying attention. Like the attention from the outside corporately was also a lot stronger and a lot bigger. We were being asked to do more for Disneyland, have characters in the park and things literally that they had never asked of us before. So from that sense, we really did feel like, oh, we finally like prove that Disney Channel is an important piece of the structure, which up until then, I think we were kind of in like liked, but not necessarily considered like a franchise driver.
Not
right?
at the heart,
like
not
the
at the heart of the business. Yeah.
Yeah, we just, we didn't make something that made $1 billion until High School Musical,
Right.
So it's kind of
Right.
like
It's like who's going to plan that? It's not for the money. It's just for like see if the story works out or not.
Yeah.
Right. So everything from that point on, I think, was just this sense of like of understanding of, oh, this is who and what Disney Channel can be, both creatively and the stuff we're making and the stars we're getting. And I think, like Michael, I mean, it must have changed things for you about who would talk to you.
Well, no, not really, because the thing is, we didn't talk to a lot of outsiders from outside the channel, but I was just going to say it didn't get any easier with that kind of success. In fact, I think it got a little bit harder because, as I said, when High School Musical hit, I said, this is the kind of success that makes you lose your job because you're never going to quite live up to the great success of it. And yet you're going to be asked to time and time and time again. And everything's going to have a little patina of disappointment after this. Did you feel that at all, Kimberly?
I can't say I did, but I would point out that, my side was also dealing with like you didn't have time to breathe from High School Musical to Hannah Montana. Those were right behind each other, essentially. And then you also remember that DC was just a couple of months after that.
That's
and then
right.
I was in Spain relaunching all of those things after that.
Oh,
so
wow.
I don't know. I certainly understand what you're saying. That is like once you have that hit, like you make The Sixth Sense and you're M. Night Shyamalan and everyone expects every movie after to have the same, to match it. And that must be super duper hard. And that's unfair, to be honest. Like if everybody could make a hit movie that was that resonant every single time, like who would need Hollywood, right?
Yeah, but it's the what have you done for me lately syndrome.
Exactly.
And
so I mean, I don't know, but I feel like the things that came after that, obviously High School Musical 2, I would not have wanted the pressure of that. That was a you. My job was to get it out there, but you're the one who had to make that movie and make it better than the first and turn it into a $17.2 million household viewership on day one kind of thing, which
I love doing it and I like to take as much credit for it as possible. But that again, it was like we had the best pre-advertising in the world by having the first movie to refer back to. And the thing we did best with High School Musical 2, I think, is not violate the spirit of the first one. We told a different story. We kept the same characters, and we kept the characters. We took little chances with Zach by pushing him a little bit towards not the completely pure hero that he was before, but we pulled him back from it. So it was, it was a pleasure to do, and I'm so glad it succeeded.
Oh yeah.
But
and you forget like how fast that was. High School Musical was January 2006. High School Musical 2 was August 2007.
I know. I remember being in Arizona, or I mean, pardon me, Nevada, I guess. No, it was
New Mexico, wasn't
New
it?
Mexico, yeah. it was at the golf course where we shot it, and I remember it was very close to very close to the time that we had to get it in and get it on air. So it was
Yeah.
great fun.
Oh
And
yeah.
I
I
just
am nostalgic for those days.
I think that would be very hard. Like
Yeah.
it's not just that he had to turn it around, but that he had to turn it around in like to hear his point, like a movie that went on the air in August that
Yeah.
had the full Disney machine behind it, right? That means,
Right.
that means that kind of like you do see with big theatrical, that means we had to lock in a date because we now had all the things we'd never had before, sponsorship partners,
Right.
and people who were going to get to see the movie early and previews with SVOD and AVOD and all of these other things that we had never had before. So
Yeah.
it was not a date you could miss, because once we said that was the date, the machine was moving. And that meant essentially, Locked Picture probably, had to be like, people had to be cutting things by May, June, like at the latest.
Yeah.
That means that Locked Picture had to be in kind of like by April, May.
Yeah.
So like 13 months later, he had to have a Locked Picture on two.
And musicals are hard. The post is more difficult on musicals, as you can imagine, because the music has to be just right. And I mean, we were still changing out some of the musical numbers right to the very end. I mean, like the first one, the one done in the kitchen, to recall it, it's
I'll work it out.
Work It Out. Yeah, that was originally supposed to be an extra. It was going to be a DVD extra, and
Oh,
we made
okay.
it for DVD. And I was on the set when we were making it, though, and I called Gary and I said, Gary, you're going to want this in the picture. There's no question about it. And we really pissed off the DVD people that way, because I knew it was going to be the one that they wanted. So I don't think they forgave us, but
Yeah, I think we
But-
switched that one with Huma Huma Noopa Noopa Apawa, right?
well, that
Yes.
was Gary just didn't like that one, so we had to drop it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So obviously, since we've been talking a lot, with how just amazing 2006 year was, for Disney Channel branding as a whole, and talking about a lot how the success of High School Musical became such a big thing for the branding itself. So obviously, after the success of High School Musical, can you kind of talk about like how did their next musical movies of both like Camp Rock and Lemonade Mouth come about?
Well, they were things we've been working on for quite a while, and Camp Rock was another Alan Sachs idea, and so with the Alan Sachs idea, it was great that he had the idea, but then we had to start from scratch and come up with the story and come up with the whole thing from zero. And we had the Jonas Brothers. We wanted Joe Jonas.
Yes.
But I remember having to meet with the dad to say, we'll get the other two boys in, and we'll not give them just walk-on roles. We'll treat them well, because we're the only ones who thought that Joe was the leader of the group. So that was tricky. And then we had I'm trying to think of anything that was particularly interesting about what went on. Getting them into it and getting the right camp up in Canada was another trick too. But
Demi really hadn't done anything for us at that
Demi
point.
had done nothing. No, she was an unknown quantity, and she was just so charming and lovely. There was no doubt about her. I mean, we were so happy to have her. I remember being in Canada with her the night before we wrapped, and she had written a whole song about the production that she sang on her guitar for the ensemble, and it's fun to think back the days when she was just an incredibly talented little kid, and and as soon as we saw what they could do, we decided to go into development on Camp Rock 2, which I think is a far better movie than the first one, because we had
Yeah.
Paul Owen directed, and I think the story is better too, and
Jake does not seem convinced with that.
pardon me? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
I said Jake does not seem convinced that Camp Rock 2 is better.
That was better. Well, I'll stand on my hill and fight you for it, because I think it's better.
I was not there for Lemonade Mouth. Like, legitimately, that one happened while I was in Spain, and so it kind of happened beyond me. But I think that actually even premiered after I left Disney. So I view that mostly as from an outside perspective of I really, really love that movie. That's another one where
I love that movie
like
too.
the music is really, really strong. I was surprised
I
it
love that
actually
film
didn't
too.
do better, because I actually think just from, hit after hit, that's another one that kind of like Cheetah Girls 2, that like all the songs in it are really great. And clearly, Bridget Mendler was a big star, and the girl went on to play Jasmine, didn't she, in Aladdin?
Yes, she did.
So some super duper talent in that movie. So
I was going to say the casting, I think, is everything in that movie, because those kids had great chemistry together, and
Naomi Scott.
Pardon me?
Naomi Scott. I couldn't come up with
Naomi Scott, yeah. She's in a lot of fairly big things recently. And I think she's delightful.
Oh yeah.
But I wanted to make a sequel to that. And
right, I remember reading like something like there were talks about a sequel. It just never really came to light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I remember seeing that.
That's when Adam Burnett took over as head of programming, and he wanted to do new things that he had a hand in. So they killed it.
Yeah. I think my favorite song of that one was Determinate. I really liked that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
I love
that one.
Right. I think I remember that. Yeah. I remember that's a good one.
I think the part of the genius of that movie was choosing the Black Eyed Peas as the kind of a cognate of what kind of band it was. So it wasn't just a rock and roll band. It wasn't just a rap group or anything like that. It had the ability to go across a whole bunch of genres, and it made for a great album.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. So
for sure. I mean, kind of go back to a little bit of Camp Rock, where he kind of said Kimberly about those two, which one is better. I mean, if someone asks me like which two like films of that franchise better,
tough. For me, it's real tough.
I haven't seen like any of those movies in a while. I mean, I remember both of them was good, but I think I might remember the second one was it was more fun to watch. I'm so.
I like the songs in the second one. I think better. The songs in the second one so good. Well, because I remember the song "It's On" was like kind of like
that's right.
It was kind of like Disney Channel. Like it was kind of like their theme for a while. Like they had done a lot of promos using kind of like "It's On" as the tagline because of promoting Camp Rock 2.
I love that song. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I do remember more now. Yeah. I think I might like the second one better.
That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, I love that song. Yeah. It's amazing.
So, go ahead.
I feel like I think "It's On" is a song I remember, but I think it played a lot. I just feel like maybe for me the songs, I remember them a little bit more out of Camp Rock 2. I think maybe Michael's right that the story was better. The story better in Camp Rock 2, but in Camp Rock 1, the songs are, to me, a little more stuck in my head.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like it's just not just kind of the main songs, but Start the Party is
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
like
Yeah,
cute,
I love Start the
little
Party.
fun
Right.
song. I made a
Exactly.
version.
Yeah.
I made a version of that in
Right.
Spanish, which you can, if you ever find on the air with a kid named Ismail. He's on YouTube, but we did a version of that for him. And Two Stars was also, I think, just
Yeah.
a really, really strong song. And so I just felt like there were a lot of really things to work with that had different tones and different feels to it.
Yeah.
And first, maybe that's just why, but I always felt like, besides kind of the rock songs, they had some really nice, sweet ballads, and
Mhm.
some of the secondary songs I thought were also strong.
Mhm.
Oh
Well,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So now, why do you both think like so many DCOMs from the eras that you both worked there still hold such, nostalgia for audiences today?
Yeah, exactly. Like for us, if we're still keep talking about High School Musical and Cheetah Girls and Halloween Time, those type of, what's it like for you two to that oh my gosh, there are a lot of people like both of us, for example, that we still talk about all DComs like years later.
Well, let me take a crack at it because I've thought about this um, a bit. And when we were making these movies, one of our dictums was kids are not nostalgic. They've got nothing to be nostalgic about. They're not nostalgic about their nursery rhymes and things like that. So kids want to live in the present, in the now, and yet youth is precious and it goes away. So now that we've got kids who are like in their teens or college kids, I've heard many stories about college girls getting together to watch Disney Channel original movies from their teen years,
Oh wow.
because it's so nice and comforting, And it
Yeah,
was a simpler time for them in their own lives,
yeah,
and there's nothing threatening about it. There's nobody's face is
exactly.
going to get blown off. So I think um, it's good food for the innocent soul, sort of. I think that's why, and I don't think it's changed very much. Most of the movies have not aged in any kind of negative way. So I think people do remember these with a bit of nostalgia now that they're
Oh
older.
yeah. Oh yeah, I say,
Yeah,
and I think for me personally, one of the cool things about uh the DComs, just to touch on this briefly, was in addition to like the traditional DComs, like there were also a lot of holiday DComs. I mean, we
Yeah.
talked about Halloween
yeah,
Town a few times, but then there was also, Twitches, and
Oh
years
yeah.
before that there was the Ultimate
yeah.
Christmas Present, and
Yeah.
a lot of those.
Yeah, exactly. And for something that deals with actually like true stories,
Uh-huh.
and the way it's just it's just what Disney Channel Brandon has done with these type of movies. This is amazing as a whole.
My
It's great.
personal, Michael can attest to this. My personal on Ultimate Christmas Present. I always try to find like where my fingerprints are on Disney Channel
Yeah.
original movies. Um, and so on Up and Away, my personal fingerprint is that I was the one who said Sherman Hemsley should play the grandfather. That
And he was
that
great.
was me in
Oh
around.
Oh
yeah.
wow,
Um,
okay.
and literally no one disagreed with that. Like there was one of the first times I ever said anything where everyone's all like, "That's exactly who
Yes,
should
Kimberly,
play
yes,
the
great idea.
grandfather." Let's see if we can get him. But like that was Gary had asked for some casting, and I was like, Sherman Hemsley's grandpa, and they were like, oh my god, that would be brilliant.
Yeah.
For Ultimate Christmas Present, I had read that script, and I was like, well, like a snowstorm almost cancels Christmas. Like originally, that movie was set in the Midwest, and not a lot of they didn't change anything about it. But I remember I went to Michael and I said, like, they're used to snowstorms in the Midwest, right?
Right.
Like, they know how to deal with it. Their shopping malls are set up for that. I was like, what if we set it up in LA, where here, if it rains for 5 minutes, everyone is like,
Exactly.
it's snow, it's Armageddon, the water is falling from the sky. We wouldn't know what to do with the real snowstorm. So that was one of the changes I had pitched to Michael.
That's great. And I've adopted it to the point where I thought that was my idea. So congratulations, Kimberly. I'll give you
Yeah.
credit from now on. But it's what makes the movie, because as you say, it just wasn't magical enough otherwise.
Well,
Yeah,
it would
exactly.
have worked either way, but that little bit was the fun. I think the thing about the holiday movies is that kind of comes back to kind of my world, right? We needed,
Yeah.
by the time we'd gotten to, like by the time we were gotten to like the movies being 2006 and kind of things like that, we were fully entrenched in Halloween being an all month long holiday,
Yep.
and Christmas, like kids are home. This is a major point when, for Disney Channel is, when we're launching stuff or we're going to tell you what's coming up in the new year, it's like, hey, kids are home at Christmas.
Yep.
We have to, those are the two spaces we have to be in. Like, and same with series. You'll notice at some point there's always a Christmas episode and always a Halloween episode.
Yep.
And then we'd be like, you can do one more, maybe Valentine's Day, maybe 4th of July, whatever, Thanksgiving. But those are always like, you get like one more that you can do, but you have to make a Christmas and a Halloween movie. And this was, again, I think before Christmas movies and Halloween became what we think of them now. We were the Disney Channel for Halloween was one of the first to be like, beginning of the week, we're going all in on Halloween. And that means we need Halloween movies to fill up the schedule. I always said October was the easiest month for me to schedule because it was a no-brainer. We'd pull anything that had aliens or monsters or whatever, an original premiere. And Michael made, besides the movies we kind of think about, Twitches and Halloween Town especially. I love Twitches, by the way. That's just a fun one. But, there was also Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. There's Phantom of the Megaplex.
Love Phantom
where
of
I aired
the
Can of
Megaplex.
Worms. That was where I often put Don't Look Under the Bed. Like, we had some really fun movies under wraps. Like, we had a library of these movies to use, and so it was a fun month for us to schedule. So huge huge numbers, I think, in making Christmas movies. You guys would have to tell us like what resonates with you, I think, when you come back and you look at those movies. And maybe it's because we did have an event which might have been rare for kids. Kind of, Michael was talking about the fact that Fridays you knew you were going to kind of get a DCOM, and we built up a brand around that, and these movies were made very specifically for your age group, for that audience, and that's very powerful to be like, this isn't a movie that was in the theaters that it turned out you loved. This was a movie made for that group
That's right.
loved.
For you. I just want to make one mention of the Halloween movies. Hocus Pocus, I remember. That was the movie that we did not make, but before we made any movies, that one was doing numbers for you before we even made any Disney Channel original movies, right?
It was.
Kimberly?
That was, I would say, Hocus Pocus is one of those ones where people think that was ABC Family. Like, if people think about it, they're like, oh yeah, it used to run all the time on ABC Family. ABC Family stole it. I'm going to say that right now. ABC Family stole that movie. Come on.
But you know what I did?
Disney Channel was airing it in nonstop repeats around the time Under Wraps and stuff had come out, because we didn't have a full library of Halloween movies at the time. Teen Witch, I think, was also played a lot around that time. Like Teen Witch, Focus, and Under Wraps were like the first three that we were kind of putting out there. And Hocus Pocus did gangbuster numbers. Loved it every single time it ran. And then ABC Family was like, oh, wow, look at those really great numbers Disney Channel was doing with Hocus Pocus. And then they bought the runs and like were like, no, you can't have it. Now they share it. But back then it was like, they're like, we want it.
Well, just to tie it together, Hocus Pocus was directed by Kenny Ortega. And I thought he, since I was watching this movie do great numbers for years, I thought if we ever get a chance to employ him for something, we gotta grab him. And that's why I pushed for him for High School Musical. And so it's funny how things bang into one another
Yeah,
in the long run.
for
I
sure.
forget about that. You're right. That is Kenny Ortega. That
That
makes
is Kenny
sense because
Ortega.
that Bette Midler number is so
Yep.
so fun.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is.
Oh my
It is.
gosh. Love that.
Yeah, it's great that for have a lot of people, including both me and Chris, to kind of just say that DCOMs is still such a wonderful thing for Disney Channel. For us back then, they were still things that still holds up today and still relevant, and it's great that that we want to kind of keep spreading the word just how amazing those films were for Disney.
Oh, great.
Michael sent me an article the other couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago now, but Deadline had interviewed Ryan Coogler about
Right.
Sinners,
Uh-huh.
and Ryan Coogler, and I was there when this happened, so trust me, I was completely stunned when I heard it as well. But the interviewer had asked him about the Irish influence in that movie, that was another that was a thread throughout the movie, and they had asked him why
Yeah.
did you include the Irish in the story of that you were telling in Sinners. And he's like, hey, I don't know if you remember, but there was a movie back on Disney Channel called Luck of the Irish. And apparently Ryan Coogler loves that movie, like legitimately loves that movie, and referenced it as a reason. That love of that movie and that story that we told about kind of the Irish's place in America was one of the reasons that he then put some of that themes into Sinners. On a national stage in front of people that in an interview going out, like Luck of the Irish somewhat influenced Ryan Coogler to make Sinners.
It's kind of cool.
That's insane.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah. And I going back to before we get to the last question, one of the other things too that I think makes looking back at these things so important is also just kind of reminiscing on the actors of that time who made those shows and movies so special. Like someone who comes to mind for me just off the top of my head is Jason Dolly. Seeing him for the first time on Read It and Weep, and then Corey in the House, and then Minutemen and Good Luck Charlie, and all the things that he's done. Hatching Pete,
Hatching Pete, right? Yeah,
such a great actor.
Yeah, no, he's a terrific kid too.
Oh yeah.
There was almost a really kind of early on kind of path where sometimes if we knew we had an actor coming up we really liked in a movie, and a lot of times they were found in a movie. It was really rare for it to go the other way.
Yep.
If it wasn't a movie based on their franchise property, like the Wizards movie. Right. But once we saw the kid kind of or actor in the movie version, we'd want to put him or her in some of our episodes as like a guest star or something. So you almost didn't realize it was happening, but we were kind of seeding some familiarity with the actor as well. So I think you saw, Zac Efron show up on Sweet Life at the time? Like it was very typical that you'd sometimes seed the actor in a bunch of different things, before they kind of got their own property.
I'm not sure about that one. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Teen Beach Movie?
Ooh.
I love Teen Beach Movie.
I
haven't seen that in years, but I still remember that. I remember it was a fun story, fun movie.
I love that one.
The first one I love a lot. The first one I love a lot.
I didn't see the second one.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I didn't really watch the sequels. I remember watching only like the first one a lot.
Yeah, second one. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
I like the songs in the second one. The story, it just really wasn't it for me, and the ending of it especially.
It just wasn't there.
I don't know. It definitely
just wasn't there. But for the first one,
definitely didn't live up to the first one. First one I thought was really good. I like that one a lot.
That's what I think. They should have kept me on a little longer.
I know.
Yes. So, Jake, take us home with the last question we ask all of our guests at the end. Go ahead, Jake.
Yes, exactly. Every single guest who already said towards the end. So yes, thank you very much, Chris. Of course, as this podcast being called Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, when you think of nostalgia, what do you think of? On your own words, how would you both just come up, describe what the word nostalgia. What does what nostalgia means to you? You both, Mako and Kimberly. I know we obviously we asked that question to you, Kimberly, but you can kind of go to that answer again. But what does nostalgia mean to you both?
I'll throw it to Michael first, since I have answered this question. Michael, what does nostalgia mean to you?
Yeah.
Okay, nostalgia to me means sort of a very pleasant, sort of rosy remembrance of the past, uh, without with all the rough edges taken off. So
Right.
my nostalgia is about when I was on the movie set, and knew that I had quite a privilege to be able to get into this business, or art, if you want to call it that, and that I knew I would not always be on there. So even at that time, I thought I'm going to look back on this and really be happy. And so that's my
Exactly.
form of nostalgia.
That's wonderful. Great words, Mako. And what about you, Kimberly? Even though we asked you that previously.
You probably have my first and best answer there, but since you've asked me before, I think the interesting thing about nostalgia is that in the moment you don't know that this is the thing you're going to be nostalgic for, which is a very interesting kind of concept to be like, oh, in the moment you're just doing what you need to do, and at some point you get older or more jaded, or just things change, and you look back on it and you realize, oh, that was a really good time, or that really gave me a certain feeling, evokes a certain memory. And I think that everybody wants to look back on their past and feel like and have it be comforting. I just think that's true, because the world in the present can sometimes be hard. So
Yes.
I think that nostalgia
definitely.
is so important,
Yes.
because it gives you a way to look back for a frame of reference and reframe it a little bit to be like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought, or oh, that was an amazing time that has never happened again.
Right.
The danger obviously is sometimes those rose-colored glasses hides the reality, but I feel like for something like what we did with Disney Channel Original Movies, I feel like you can look back on that and feel completely that you remembered it as it was.
Yep.
Not every movie was a hit, but like I said, they brought families together. They were things that people anticipated and watched.
Yep.
And if one movie here disappointed or one movie there was better, I'm sure that for many, many families, that co-viewing experience of watching the movie and sharing it with their friends has to be something you want to remember. So, I think there's a reason that we're so social now, and something like the DCOMs were so about the community of watching those movies, of everybody having watched those movies. So it's a common reference point for an entire generation.
Yeah.
Definitely great words.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. Yes, exactly. Thank you for both of you for this wonderful words, Kimberly and Michael.
Absolutely.
You're
Absolutely.
welcome.
Well, Kimberly, very happy to have you back on, and Michael,
Yes, good to see you again,
very pleased to
Kimberly,
meet
and
you,
good
and
to
I'm
meet you, Michael.
glad we were able to make this
Yes.
happen. This was a lot of fun.
Me too.
Great to have you here, Michael, with Kimberly, and have you both on together talk about this wonderful career that you both had. It's amazing that it's for you to come back, Kimberly, and just kind of help out with Michael, and with a lot of jumble of things, and so it was great to see you guys. And
Well, I enjoyed it thoroughly. Thanks
Yeah,
very much.
thank you for having us.
exactly.
Really did appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Yes.
Yes, no problem.
All right.
All right. Take care of you two. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks again for the fun, you two. Bye.
Bye. And it's goodbye from us as well. We absolutely enjoyed our time speaking with Kimberly Luce again, and speaking with Michael Healy for the first time. Keep on the lookout for more wonderful interviews coming your way. And as always, what do you say, Jake?
Yes, exactly. Keep nostalgia alive. Take care, everyone. See you next time. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another wonderful Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode. Be sure to follow Jake and the Happy Nostalgia team on social media, check out our website, and stream the show wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And as always, remember to keep nostalgia alive. Bye-bye.